Welcome to InDepth, a series where we take a deep dive in the wonders of the warframe, and I explain, or I try to explain, everything that I know about this game so you can use it yourself. I'm Blasbjörn, and I'm your nerd interpreter. We're starting this off with probably my favorite set of all time. My favorite set of mods is the mecha set. It gives you all kinds of status explosions and new capabilities on a frame that normally cannot. Let's talk about the mecha set. There's 4 mods in total. We have an aura mod for warframes, we have a normal mod for warframes, then we have mecha recharge, that is for the Kubro, and then we have mecha overdrive, which is for the Kubro class. These 4 mods together make up the mecha set. The more you use, the higher the set bonus, like any other mod set there is. Let's quickly talk about the mods individually. They don't do anything crazy, but let's just quickly walk through it so you know what you're equipping besides the set effect. Mecha recharge is shield recharge for Kubros. This is probably the most useless one. You can keep it unranked to save mod slots because the rank doesn't influence the set bonus. Then we have mecha overdrive, which is for Kubro class. This is actually insanely strong. It will greatly improve your damage if you rank this up, because it gives your companions status chance. That is based off your primary status chance. We'll talk later about how to use this properly, but this mod, actually good to rank up. Then we have the aura mod. We just gotta rank it up for more mod slots. And the bonus damage is actually a final multiplier, which works similar to Roar. It double dips on DOTs. And since we only use DOTs, it basically always double dips. And then we have Mecha Pulse, which gives you armor when you kill the marked enemy, and every enemy around that. Well, killing the marked enemy gives you a status explosion, so the enemies around that will probably also die. It's decent. It's very conditional armor. It has a cap of 1200%, but it's not too great. You will see me use a lot of unranked versions of these. It doesn't really matter. So now we have talked about every mod separately. Let's talk about set bonus. The companion marks a target every 60 seconds for 3 seconds. Killing the target applies their status effect to all enemies within 7.5 meters. This goes all the way up to 15 meters. If you use all 4 mods, the cooldown will be technically 3 seconds. Companion marks a target every 15 seconds for 12 seconds, which means there's basically a 3-second cooldown between every single mark your companion can place. The status effect spreading will be 30 meters at max rank, which is a doubling. Basically, it means try to use all 4. Important to note about this is not limited per lobby. You can all 4 run the mecha set, and all 4 status explosions will be able to happen and trigger each other. You just have your own marked enemy. Teammates cannot see your marked enemy either. Your own Kubro or Predacite will be able to mark an enemy for yourself, which means you can run as many mecha mods as you want in a group, and everybody will spread statuses and will explode each other's mecha target, which is kind of fun to use. I think this is all we have to say about the mods and about the set. Let's just talk about how it works now. This mod or this set combines all statuses that are on the enemy that is marked when it dies, and combines all those total statuses and combines it in a single effect. That total damage combined will be spread around, which is kind of similar to Harmony. Harmony also compresses the statuses in a single damage instance. With Mecha Set, that single damage instance will be able to be spread around within 30 meters at max mods. The calculation behind it is kind of awkward. There's a lot of weird things going on, so don't be too worried about that. Just know that all DOTs will be great for this mod set, because the only way to trigger this is by using a status effect with a DOT on the marked enemy. So that is slash electric, heat, toxin, or gas. I on purposely didn't mention blast, because blast does not trigger it, because it's technically a damage effect, not a damage over time effect. But just so you know, if you were thinking, oh, with blast I can make funny grouped enemies explode and easily hit the target, doesn't work. Gas, however, does work. If you use the lingering clouds, it's kind of easy to trigger the enemy to walk into that. And where the status effects coming from, that doesn't matter. You will see me use this on another status frame, whether it's your frame, your weapon, your companion, whatever happens, as long as it's DOT, the enemy will explode and spread it around, which is the beautiful part of it. Now, to get a little more technical, if we go a little deeper into the spreading of the status effects even, there is a unique trait to Mecha Pulse. Each damage stick of Mecha Set will add another DOT. The reason DOTs are so important is not just to trigger it, but each stick of unique transferred DOT will apply every transferred status effect again. If this sounds confusing, you apply Toxin. Toxin ticks for however many seconds because of your status duration, which we'll get to later, but this is status duration gonna be kind of interesting. So each damage tick for the Toxin, it will reapply an extra Toxin stack. It does not increase the status duration, it does not refresh the timer, not even if you use heat, but it will increase the damage. frames that give status duration, like Citrine and Lavos, they will get increased mecha effects just because of the insane status duration they can give. Once again, every tick of a DOT status type will reapply that DOT status type. If you keep adding to that, every DOT that keeps adding to itself will eventually trigger a chain reaction, which you can use it to trigger on the next mecha enemy again, or it can keep spreading around and around and around. So if you combine it with Contagious Bond, this way, if you have a decent amount of status duration, you can nuke whole maps at some point. You gotta get a little lucky with it, which is fair because this literally scales to unlimited damage. There is no cap to this. There will hopefully be some clips that I can find where I just easily hit the damage cap with mecha set, mostly with my Varuna. There's some crazy stuff happening with that V-triggering and that spreading around. It's getting lucky, but you'll see it happen, which is beautiful. Now we have figured out how mecha set works. We're gonna start off with the easy way out. You all know that it's your friendly favorite subsume. It's Roar. We all know how Roar works, faction damage bonus. It applies to mecha set because it applies to DOTs. It will increase the damage. That being said, you also have mecha empowered for bonus damage. You have the faction damage. The reason I like Varuna so much is Varuna has this augment for damage vulnerability. Damage vulnerability applies to the DOT as well. Technically, damage vulnerability double dips like faction damage bonus. No one really talks about this, but it applies to the initial hit and then it applies again to the damage over time. So it's a different kind of double dipping because it's not multiplying itself, but it is double dipping. And then, of course, the status duration. If you play something like Citrine or like Lavos and you mod for duration, you also at the same time mod for status duration. The status duration will give you more damage ticks, which means you will get more mecha re-triggers. This is a cycle. It's technically a damage increase. It will also keep your set more active and it will be easier to spread around. So if you have the possibility to mod for status duration on your warframe, it's worth it. Keep in mind on your warframe, modding weapons for status duration is almost never worth it because of all the other mods that exist already. Technically it could be good, but there's so many better options. Try to limit yourself to modding status duration on a warframe. The crits will scale better on a weapon and only Jaya can crit with her abilities, and Wisp to be fair. Okay, so important to note, once again, you do not need a warframe with high status applications, it just makes it easier. This is kind of every way of increasing damage in a nutshell. We're not just going to talk about the bit of maximization. So how do we easily trigger the enemies? How do we easily find the marked target? Or how do we get a lot of damage in? Let's start with our companion. Our companion is a great asset in this. Like I said, we have mecha recharge here, which doesn't do a lot because it's just shield recharge. The important mod on your companion could be Contagious Bond, because mecha recharge is kind of meh, but Contagious Bond spreads status effects. This spreading can trigger onto the mecha set enemy, which also triggers the mecha set. So Contagious Bond is a great combination just to make it easier for yourself to hit the marked target, because that's kind of the biggest thing to use mecha set properly, is making sure you can hit the marked target a lot, because if you have to look for it, it's no worth. It will technically slow you down unless you find a lot of ways around it, some ways to make it easier to hit the mecha target. Quickly look at the class. These claws are a bad example. You have magnetic class with status duration. You can go for the 330% mods on your class, which will also make for more damage. High crits will also give your mecha companion more damage. Currently this is Suneka Kubro, because I have this for killing overguarded enemies. That way it's easier to spread the mecha set around as well, because this will also focus nullifier bubbles. That's kind of what my Varuna does. These are all gonna matter. Let me quickly show you why Mecha Overdrive is so interesting. It adds status duration. That's actually pretty good. And it had primary status chance. So you can see, because of that, my companion has 275% status chance. If I take this away, I have 16, because this is a flat addition. So 60% of my Paris Prime, 60% of 432, should be 259%. Well, if you look at my little Sunika class, that is 259%. So it had a flat status chance based off your primary status chance. If you combine this with Hunter Synergy and you have a bow with high crits, like this one, 250 crit, 216 status, you combine both of those, you can see I now trigger Tenacious Bond because I'm over 50%, which means I also will deal more damage with my companion, and I still have high status chance because of Mecha Overdrive. So Mecha Overdrive, max it out and get a stat stick. I know DE tried to get rid of stat sticks with the exalted weapons. The Kubro still really likes a stat stick, and in my opinions, Paris Prime is the best for that. I do have a crit chance Riven. You could definitely do without. The reason Paris Prime is so good is because of its special augment for these status chance. And of course it's an incarnon, so you get a lot of status chance here. So this is just maximization part for your companion. Literally, this is the first part we've done. There is so much more to it. Because yeah, let's just get to the next part. Like I said, a great damage increase is damage vulnerability. Damage vulnerability is many ways to get that. On my Varuna, I have it from an augment. If you look at Webbed Embrace, Sentient Rev is decent, and then you still have Rest and Rage. I'm gonna focus you for now on Webbed Embrace, an ability that gives 50% damage vulnerability and toxin damage, which means you do more damage, and the status effect to trigger mecha set is already on there. This is probably one of the best subsumes if you like to run mecha set. You must see me use this a lot, mainly on my Citrine, but also on High Roar from Rhino. I use Webbed Embrace with that to trigger mecha set still on it. This subsume, I know it's Orexia and not a lot of people have farmed the second because the very same, but it's worth it. Please, it's worth it to know that there is a toxin damage ability with damage vulnerability that has decent range as well. So if you're trying to figure out a mecha set and you're trying to figure out a subsume, keep your eye out for this. Of course, you can also use Roar as a great damage multiplier, but Webbed Embrace is so strong. You need to know that it's there as an option. If we're talking about abilities, then Citrine, Kome, Lavos are great frames to trigger it. They all use also similar mods because of that. Stuff like Archon Continuity will literally give you double the status effects, which just greatly increases your damage. Duration, like I said, for the status duration, because for Citrine that gives status duration on the ability itself instead of in her stats. All this stuff makes them just very interesting to play. If you look at Lavos, you get Archon Vitality, double the heat status effects, it's more damage. It's basically your normal status modding. All you have to do is give up 2 mod slots for mecha in there. Archon Vitality, Archon Continuity. Archon mods are going to be great for you here. Besides Archon Intensify, of course, but the Archon mods are going to make a difference in damage, especially Vitality and Continuity. If we talk about frames, I need to tell you that abilities like Toxic Lash work great. It will give your weapon AoE capabilities if you use Influence Toxic Lash, or the other way around, you have a status weapon and you give it influence by using Shock Trooper. Stuff like that. There is so many ways to get a lot of statuses in. One of my personal favorites is this niche option. I have a pure Toxic Umbral Blade, which actually will spread a lot of toxic statuses. And we've now talked about the frames. These are just some ideas, by the way. Please experiment away. All of these are just IDs. Like I said, I prefer getting my statuses from my frames because I also prefer using abilities. If you prefer using weapons, we get other frames. Stuff like Hero. You would not suspect it, but Hero knows how to mecha because you will give your weapons crit, which will buff your weapons like crazy. If you combine that with a weapon like this, so if you go for a weapon like the tennocreate, you now have primary debilitate as well, which is one of the most recent additions to the game. It makes mecha set even better because it splits your combined damage types into singular damage types, which all of them except cold are DOTs. So if I go viral heat Glexion, I will get toxin and heat in the end. I can buff the Glexion by using Harrow and giving it crit, and then I use Crepuscular for crit damage, which means I have insanely high scaling DOTs on the beam weapon that technically has AoE on it. You know how easy it is to trigger mecha set with this. You can always go gas electric as well if you have a way of armor stripping. Gas electric is also one of these strong mecha combinations on a primary. So stuff like the tennocreate. What else do we have? Even the Verdoria is great. Paris Prime and Dread Incarnon both have infinite body punch through, so it's very easy to hit the marked target. Ignis Wraith has infinite body punch through. Kuvra Brenna is explosive. Archiplasma, not really, because it's hard to hit just DOTs, but that the Amprex is great. Synta is great. Torrid is great. Convectrix is great. Like, all these weapons that have high AoE capabilities with DOTs on them will be able to be used on a weapons platform and still use mecha set. You don't need a frame that just deals statuses. All you need is a good combination of AoE and status appliances. So whether you have status from your frame with the AoE or you buff with your frame on an AoE weapon that still spreads statuses, like all those Ricochet secondary incarnates that we have, they will be able to spread mecha set because basically you're banking on getting lucky on hitting the marked target which is not that hard when you have that much AoE on a weapon. Don't get blindsided by the fact that there's these status frames. You can completely revert the roles and bring the statuses to your weapon and bring an insane weapon buffer to have a similar effect. So yeah, some more weapons that I've written down. We have a nuker, of course, epitaph, bore, strun, anything with debilitate nowadays. Formback could do it. Formback could use mecha set. Just saying. Now we've talked about all of the ways to trigger a mecha set. The way to play is something completely else. So you've seen your weapon builds, you have seen your ability builds. I will quickly show your abilities in game with my Varuna. Yes, I love Varuna too much. So if we would load into a Steel Path Survival, the problem with mecha set, as I said, is going to be finding the marked enemy. So what we are gonna do is just bring frames that don't have to look for it. Like right now I can find it. Then this is what happens. It's the purple numbers. But if you have trouble finding it, try to bring stuff with AoE, as I said, but also bring stuff that can group up enemies. Sadly, Nautilus cannot use a mecha set, so don't really use a Nautilus. That's also why you will never see me use robotics. Also bringing abilities like pull, like ensnare. Those will actually help you trigger mecha set, because you will be able to group up enemies, which also means there's more enemies in the radius for the status explosion. It just makes it easier to hit the marked target by accident. That's kind of what you're going for. If you look at gameplay examples, my biggest example or tip for that would be find ways to hit the marked target without having to look for it. Having to look for it greatly slows down your KPM. That's basically all you can do in this game, is have a high KPM. That's what we're looking for. If you don't accidentally hit it, it's just not worth bringing mecha set. That's a balance you will have to figure out for yourself. When do you use it? When do you not use it? I like to smack it on almost every frame just because I love this set so much. It just does it for me. Try to hit it by accident without having to actually look for it. The only exception for me is Varuna, because Varuna marks that target with her energy color as well, so it's easy to see because of her damage vulnerability with death spreading, which spreads into the mecha spreading. It basically re-triggers themselves. We also have Larva, of course, which makes it easy to hit. All that kind of stuff, just keep that in mind. Find your own playstyle, because there's a million playstyles. Find your own playstyle, but try mecha set. It gives you so much bonus damage and extra nuke capabilities that you didn't know were possible, that it is worth to fiddle around with it. That's something you should try. I think that's what we could talk about. I want to give a quick honorable mention to the Pharaoh Predacite. If you are one that is going to go for the weapon buffing, like on the Hero, Pharaoh Predacite exists. And the Pharaoh has a preset mod that gives your weapons toxic damage bonus. This is 100% of your total weapon damage, so this is a lot of toxin damage, which does influence your status weighting, but since toxin is one of the damage types that we need to trigger mecha set, and secondaries don't have a debilitate, this is a great way of giving your weapons a way to trigger mecha set. So yeah, I quickly wanted to throw that in there. There are so many options. All Kubros, all Predacite are being able to be used. Sadly, Helmet Charger is technically a Kubro, but it's not a Kubro that can use mecha set because it has its own set mod, which is the Strange set. Sadly, that doesn't work, but all Kubro and all Predacites do work. Keep that in mind. They all have their own mods. They all have their own abilities. Find what is usable for you. So, like I said, for me, for example, I use a lot of Sunika because Sunika destroys Overguard. If I'm going to my melee one, I have the Pharaoh for toxic damage bonus, since I like to use Garrus Prime a lot. You know about the Garrus Prime. Made a video about it already. It's such an underrated weapon, but toxic damage bonus works great for those melee weapons. If you look at my Lavos has a healing Predacite. Still, mecha set, he needs the healing because he's a health tanker. My Citrine has Pharaoh Predacite because I'm trying to buff my weapons with that. Fiddle around, there is so many options. I probably have forgot to tell you about a few today, because it goes as deep as Warframe has a sandbox, which is insanely big of a sandbox, so fiddle around with it, try around with it. I've even tried using Aqua Blades as a subsume, just to get a lot of slash damage in, you know, for when enemies get close. So please go and let your creativity be free. This set mods needs to be known about more. It's literally what I use on almost every frame I have, and I feel like it's so underrated. Please try some things out. Go through all the possibilities. As you can see, another one I forgot to tell you about, Vezrin, because Big Staff now from the latest update gives you status vulnerability if it's on the ground. It goes on and on and on, and so many ways to play around with it. Just find a way that makes it feel nice for you. Like I said, getting stuff like AoE and or using frames that can use it easily. There is probably a way of using it for everybody. Whether you want to try it or not, it's up to you. I'm just here to give you the information. I do hope this helps. I do hope this is not too big of a ramble. I would like to see more people play around with mecha set. Like half my clan is doing it right now because I have been just telling everybody how good it is and showing it on stream. I hope you guys are now excited to use this set mods. You get it in Fortuna, go farm for it. It's from the bounties. Go and find out what you can do with it. Go have fun with it. And thank you all for watching today. Thank you for listening to this ramble. Go enjoy mecha set. I am your nerd interpreter and have a good day. Goodbye.